and welcome. Hello and welcome to yoga today. We are focusing on our hips, mobility and strength of hips to really support that structure in our lower part of our body, and also looking at the lower back and spine as well, which is really, really important to be strong and flexible to support you through your daily activities and good posture. So without further ado, we are going to get onto our mats or space. Let's start, first of all, in a comfortable seated position. Let's tune in, first of all. So by tuning in, what we mean is slowing everything down. Really be present on your mat and present in your yoga practice, taking away all those visual distractions, what you've got to do after the session, what you've just been doing. Let's really focus. You've got nowhere else to be right now. You've chosen to be here. So be here for the next 40 minutes and dedicate your time to your yoga practice. So let's grow taller in the spine, get that structure in, bring the belly button in, straight, strong spine. Just gently rest the backs of your hands on your knees. If this is uncomfortable for you because your hips are really, really tight, you can be sitting on your heels exactly the same with your palms facing up, but just relax those shoulders down. If you are how I am, with my legs crossed, I habitually put my left leg in front of my right. So to create that equilibrium and even things out, I'm just going to put my right in front of my left, so it's not always one side of the hip that's being gently opened in this posture. So just take a moment to get comfortable. Like I said, rest those backs of the hands on your knees, palms facing up. Close the eyes, close the mouth, and turn your attention to the breath. Breathing fully in through the nose and out through the nose. Gently parting the teeth so the jaws relax. In and out. Allow that chest to rise on the inhale. And control that exhale, so it's just as long as the inhale, gently lowering that chest back down. Take a couple more breaths there. Slowing your heart rate down. Taking the time to tune in. Lovely, lovely. Gently open the eyes, or if you know what you're doing, keeping the eyes closed is still an option. Let's turn those hands over, so we're gently holding onto the knees, and let's rotate those hips. So imagine there's a hoop circling your body, and you're just rolling your torso to make contact with that hoop. So perhaps if you had a pencil or something on your head, it would be drawing a perfect circle above you. So shifting that weight from one sitting bone to the other, moving around that circle circumference of your body. Switch directions. So just gently easing in first of all. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And then when we switch directions this time, I really want you to hold onto your knees, really bend that spine backwards. Shift the shoulders, pushing the knees away as you really come forward. So we're really extending that circle now, making it as big as we possibly can without Your sitting bones leaving the floor. So I'm holding onto my knees so I fall backwards on the rotation towards the back. Switch directions, really opening up the shoulders, warming up that spine and the hips. Lovely, lovely. So we're not only going to be stretching the sides of our hips, we're going to be going into those hip flexors and lower back. Really opening everything up, but also strengthening. Coming to stillness. Let's go into the sides. Slide that left hand away. Reach that right arm up to the ceiling. Reach, reach, reach as high as you can. Then as the exhale comes out, you bring your body over, but we're not turning the torso. We're stretching over to the side as if someone's pulling your wrist out. Feeling that gorgeous stretch all the way down your right-hand side of your body. Inhale, coming up. Slide that right hand away, left arm comes up. Lengthen before we fold, coming over on that right-hand side, so really stretching out the left. Lovely. Inhale, coming up. Repeat that each side, so let's come over on the left. Stretching that right, you might be able to go a little bit deeper this time. You can turn your head to look up to the ceiling or look down at the mats. Coming back up, let's go over on the right. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Fantastic. And then coming up there, let's just clasp our hands behind us. Keep the spine straight, but draw those palms away from you, looking up at the ceiling to open out that chest. If you can't get your hands, you can take your elbows, looking up to the ceiling, grit those teeth. I'm just going to adjust my light so you can see me a bit better. Lovely. Okay, let's release those hands. Come down on to all fours. Spread those fingers wide. And we're in that box shape. So your hands are directly below your shoulders. Your knees are directly below your hips. Your hip distance is 2 fists in between your knees. Okay. So let's just tick-tock those hips side to side. Gently warming up that TFL muscle at the sides. Maybe your glute medius, and then let's do those circles with our hips here. So real fluidity in the spine and the hips. Rotate those hips around, sliding them down each side. And switch directions. Lovely, lovely, lovely. As you know, I do like a fun pose in each class today. It's kind of almost like a bit of a Russian dance, maybe. You'll know what I mean when I get to it. You're kind of currently thinking, what is she going to get us to do? And let's draw those hips forwards, drop them down, bring your shoulders back, looking up at the ceiling. So it's almost like an up dog, but without those legs lifted off. Just getting into that lower back. And those hip flexors, lift those hips up. Bring your bottom to your heels. Coming back down, we'll do that twice more. So really spread those fingers for support. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, drop those hips, shoulders back. Look up, it feels okay. And then coming back. Bottom to heels. Lovely. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, drop those hips, take the gaze up. And then bring your bottom back. Lovely. And this time as we come forward, we're going to come into our downward dog. Tuck those toes, raise those hips high. Walk out those feet, lengthen all the way from the tips of our fingers up to our bums and then all the way down to our feet. Just take some time there to Get some movement, some flexibility. And then bring our knees out wide, bring your big toes together, wide leg child's pose. So just allow those hips to open a little bit more. So that pressure, that weight from your body, gently opening those hips and rock side to side. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Should feel really good. Lovely. And then from here, we're going to keep our forearms down, but this time turn our toes outwards. And you might want to slide your knees a little bit further away. So it's kind of a frog pose, frog legs. So we're really opening up the front of our hips and gently just rock forwards and backwards. If, like me, your knees come off the mat and that's kind of uncomfortable, you can turn yourself to the other way of your mat. So just like this, with your toes turned out so your knees are supported by the mat. Exactly the same, the forearms come down and you're just gently rocking forwards and backwards. So you should be feeling this opening from your hips. If you're male, this might be a little bit more uncomfortable for you than females, as we naturally have more flexibility in our hips for obvious reasons. We need to squeeze out small humans. And a couple more breaths here. Breathing gently. And bring one hand and the other hand up to gently come out of this pose. Use your body and your weight in your hands to be able to bring those knees back together so we're not shocking those muscles. And we'll come back into that downward dog. Walk out those feet again. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Let's raise that right leg high. Bring that right foot in between your hands. If it doesn't get there and you kind of land here, get your right hand and bring that right foot forward. Let's place down the left knee, unhook the left toes and come upright. You can use your hand on your right knee to help you come up. Tuck that tailbone under. Grow really tall in your spine and torso, shoulders back. And you should already be feeling that stretch on your left hip flexor. So tuck that tailbone under. I'm just going to turn around so you can see. So really tuck your tailbone under. That stretch should be pretty intense there. Opening up your chest. Take your hands behind your back for that more of an opening in the chest. Breathe. Should feel really lovely on that left hip flexor. And if it feels okay, you can begin to lunge forwards. But don't compromise the spine, don't compromise the lower back by dumping there. It's not seeing how far we can get to the mat. It's just gently adding more gravity onto that stretch on the left. Breathing there. These are often stretches that runners do because they notoriously have very tight hips, and that's because of that structure needed from that very sagittal plane of motion, that's that running motion. So runners get tight hips, particularly in their glute med. So let's take our hips back. First of all, with our toes down, begin to bring your hands to the mat and bring that right hip down. I'm gazing forwards. You should be feeling that stretch right from your right sitting bone all the way down your hammy. It's all connected. Inhale, bend that right knee, come back up. This time let's raise those arms up, holding an imaginary box above our heads. And then as we exhale, bring those hands back down, bring your hips back. This time, if it feels okay, lift those toes to the ceiling. You don't have to do this add-on. If you're feeling the intense stretch with your toes down, stay there. Breathe. Lovely. And bring those right toes down. Let's bring that right foot back. Bring your bottom to the ceiling. Walk out those feet. And this time, we're going to raise that left leg high. Bring that left foot in between your hands. Again, you can pick up your ankle and take it there if it doesn't get there. Bring that right knee down, unhook those right toes, and bring yourself up. Core is engaged. Tuck that tailbone under. I quite like putting my hands either side of my torso to help me tip that tailbone under. So it's that real visual for me where I can feel the stretch more there. Again, let's clasp our hands around our back, opening up our chest, breathing there. Check in with your spine. What are you doing? Are you dumping? Are you slouching? Or are you tall and straight? Lovely, lovely. Breathing there. And then if it feels okay, just beginning to lunge forward without dumping in that lower back. So keep that structure present. Just elongating that right hip flexor a little bit more. Feels so good. I love these stretches. I love hip work. And then let's bring those hands down to frame that left foot. Bring your hips back. Keep those left toes down first of all. Drop that left hip towards the floor so we're not compensating, lifting it up too much. Breathing there. And then the next inhale, bending that left knee. Pick your hands up as if you're holding an imaginary box above your heads. Keeping that tailbone tucked under. Option to look up if that feels good. And then exhale, bring those hands back down. Lengthening in that left knee, either keeping those toes down or following me, lifting those toes up. But again, keep that left hip dropped down. Breathing there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And inhaling, coming forwards, bring those hands back down, tuck those right toes, slide that left foot back as you raise the right knee, coming into that downward dog, walking out those feet. Going to come into 2 more stretches first before we come into some strength and mobility, and then we'll come back into some more restorative stretches for our hips. Let's bring our right knee to our right wrist. Bring the left toes down, the left knee down, and slide that left leg back. So this may be enough for you for your pigeon. If you're not feeling the stretch all around the glute med on your right, begin to rotate. I'll just turn a little bit so you can see. Rotate your right down towards the mat and wiggle that right foot forward so it's more parallel to the short edge of your mat. And then slide that left leg down and just gently rock side to side. Some of you whose hips are really high here might want to just cushion that area below the right hip a little bit more. So just breathing there, enjoying that stretch. Pigeon is one of my favorite poses. And I really, really appreciate the benefits of this as well. I feel so much better after I've pigeoned. Sounds odd. Sorry, pigeons. Then come down onto your forearms. if that feels okay. And again, gently just rock side to side, opening that right hip. It's also adding on to that hip flexor stretch on the left. Let's walk those hands back up. Press into those hands, tuck those left toes, and wiggle that right foot back under your hip before sliding it back, coming into your downward dog. Walk out those feet. Breathe. Let's bring that left foot behind the left wrist. Right knee down, right toes down, slide that right foot back. So that might be enough. Or you can wiggle that left foot over to the right side of the mat. I'm just going to slide mine up a little bit as well. And then just slide that right leg back. So if you can feel the stretch on the left glute and left hip, you're doing the right thing. Gently rock side to side. If you're not feeling the stretch, perhaps bring that right hip down further or bring that left foot up a little bit more. Bring those shoulders back so we're not hunching. Breathe. Here. And let's bring those forearms down. And again, just keep that rock if it feels good. I really like just moving in this pose rather than being still. I kind of feel that the tension builds up a little bit too much. Lovely, lovely, lovely. One more breath here. And then walk those hands up. Tuck those right toes. Slide that left foot under your left hip and back to meet the right. Picking up those hips. Downward dog. Walk out those feet. Lovely. Okay, walk those feet halfway up to your mat. Widen your feet as wide as your mat. Bend your knees. Your feet might come up, your heels might come up, that's okay. And we're coming into Malasana, so a squat pose. A few variations here just to make sure you're not putting undue pressure. I would really like your feet to be facing forwards. If they don't and they turn out, what tends to happen is the inside of your ankle is rolling in. And that's not great structure. So to keep everything stacked, your feet facing forwards, I'd rather your heels be up off the mat. Your arms are on the inside of your knees and just gently sway side to side. Lovely. So we're just continually opening those hips in different ways. And getting that mobility. Let's raise the bottom high, let the head drop low. Just hang there in a ragdoll. So take your elbows, your head is heavy. You can still have a micro bend in your knees. And bend those knees fully, coming back down into that Malasana squat pose. And you can continue where you were, or you might have to bring your hands into prayer with your knees inside your elbows inside your knees. And with that gentle prayer, you can just open your hips a little bit more. Either heels up or heels down, whichever feels comfortable. Breathe, make sure you're not hunching your upper back. We're trying to encourage those thumbs towards our chest. Breathing there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Bring those hands down, raise that bottom high, let the head drop. Just wiggle those hips. Lovely. And bend the knees as elegantly as you can. Bring your hands back behind you, bring your bottom down to the mat. Coming into Balasana, our butterfly pose. Your soles of your feet are together. Take your thumbs on the inside and gently open those feet. I'm just going to butterfly our knees here. Getting that slight movement, encouraging the hips to open. And you can either stay here if that feels good, or bring your chest forward, your elbows come to your calves, gently pressing into those calves as your chest is coming forward. So note I'm not rounding here because that's stretching my back. My goal is not to stretch my back. I'm stretching the inside of my legs into my hips. So even if you feel like you only go a centimetre, that is more than nothing. So just bring your head and chest forward with those elbows gently on the inside of your calves, breathing. Lovely. And bringing yourself up. Let's bring our legs out wide. So as wide as you can, and when you think you're as wide as you can, just take your leg with your hand and just open it up a little bit wider. You'll notice you can go a little bit wider. Bring your hands behind your thighs and just pick yourself up so you can turn your tailbone backwards. Your toes are pointing up, and just bring your hands in front of you first of all. Allow your body to recognize what's going on. Work out what muscles are stretching. You should be feeling a deep stretch here. You may even have a bend in your knee. That's absolutely fine, as long as you can feel the stretch here. If you find that stretch gets less, as your body gets used to being in this pose, you can gently walk those hands forwards, continually breathing. Taking those long breaths. Remembering on the exhale is when your body relaxes more. If you're holding your breath or forcing it, that's when your body puts on the brakes. So really just try and focus on that exhale, and you might find you may be able to walk your hands a little bit more forwards. And again, we're not trying to get down here. That's stretching my back. I'm stretching my legs. So my back is straight and strong. Just going to take 2 more breaths there. So the poses in yoga that require open hips, there's quite a few, but tree does. Warriors do, warrior 1, but particularly warrior 2 requires open hips. But also this kind of Russian dance requires that as well, and goddess pose. So we're going to just have a look at some of those. Pick your hands, take your hands under your knees, pick your knees up. So we're shortening that muscle gently by the use of our hands rather than engaging those muscles. Wrap your hands around your shins and just gently rock side to side. Lovely. Cross at the ankles. Bring yourself back up to standing, bringing your bottom up first, then roll that spine up super, super slowly. Your head and chest coming up last. Roll those shoulders. Lovely. Coming to the front of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips. Take your right knee high. Get that balance. Bring that right knee back behind you, opening your legs super wide. Tuck that tailbone under. So now we're kind of using all those things that I've been talking about in this session so far and bringing them all together for these kind of ultimate poses. Turn your left toes to face the front of the mat. You'll notice your hips go with you, Bring that right hip back. So imagine your hips are between two planes of glass. Do not move those hips. Bend, oh, click, did you hear that clunk? Bring that left knee right above that left ankle. Do not let it sneak in. Again, draw that right hip back. Raise those arms. Look over that left middle finger for your warrior two. See if you can drop those hips more, but tuck that tailbone under. Breathing there. This should feel like a really active, strong posture, really strong warriors. You should feel like someone's drawing those wrists out of your arms. Check in with that left knee. Is it snuck in or is it still right above the ankle? And shift the weight to the outside of that right foot. So you should feel that deep stretch on the inside of that right leg. One more breath here. Lengthen in that left knee. Turn those left toes in, keep your arms where they are. Turn those right toes out to the back of your mat. Draw that left hip back. Bring that right knee above your right ankle, keeping that left hip back. Look over the right middle finger for warrior two on your right side. Again, shift the weight to the outside of that left foot so you can drop those hips more without compromising your structure. Breathe. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Lengthen in that right knee. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn those right toes in. And just shake your hips like some funky dance move. Side to side for a moment. Release that tension. Lovely. Now we're going to draw those heels in, toes pointed out. Tuck that tailbone under. Do not want that bum sticking out for this pose. Bring your bottom down. Your knees are going over your toes, but they are right above your ankles. So you should still be able to see your big toes if you look over your knees. Tuck that tailbone under. That is absolutely key. But draw those knees back. It's a bit, as you tuck your tailbone under, your knees will want to come in. So draw them back. Either have your hands on your hips and see if you can sink a little bit lower. Your glutes should be working hard. Feel them. Are they switched on? And then inhale, come up. Lovely. This time you can either keep your hands on your hips or you can do pea on a fork with me. Or cactus, I think they're called. Exhale, bring your bottom back down into goddess pose. I'm not sure why it's called goddess because I really do not feel like a goddess right now. Breathing there. See if you can lower down a little bit more without sticking that bottom out. Inhale, come up. Bring your palms together. Exhale, come down. So you can still be at the first place where we were with our hands on our hips. You can be in goddess, or you can begin to be swaying like me. So really moving that weight side to side, switching on those engaging muscles. Breathing there. Really strengthening those hips, strengthening those glutes, opening that chest. Pause in the middle, inhale, come up. Last time, exhale, coming down. Pause there for 3, 2, 1, and then sway. Told you it was like some kind of Russian dance. We haven't even finished yet. One more funky dance move to do before we start calming everything down. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn your toes back facing forwards. Squat down on one side. Frame that left foot. Bring your bottom down. So my left heel lifts here, that's okay. Turn your right toes up to the ceiling and we're squatting down on one side. Breathe there. And the next inhale, we're going to lift our bottom up, bring that right foot down. Walk your hands over to the right side, switching over so that right heel might come up. Bring those left toes up. We are squatting on the right side. Let's come back over to the left, travel over. So you can stay where I am and keep doing this. And just keep moving from side to side to really get into those hips, but also the strength. I used to be able to do this so easily, so it just goes to show when you don't practice, things become harder. Because the other option, she says, is to pick off your hands without them traveling over, maybe even in prayer. Ooh. And see if you can move from side to side. The struggle is real. Oh my word, I need to practice that one. So hip strength, glute strength, hip flexibility here. Okay, let's come back to the center, lift your bottoms high, roll your spine gently back up. Hands to your hips, heel toe those feet back in. Give everything a shake off. Come to the front of your mat. We're going to come into one sun salutation to close our practice with a few hip stretches on our mat before we relax. But well done if you've attempted that kind of funky Russian dance. How do they do it? Hands on your chest in prayer. Feet together, tuck that tailbone under, grow taller, calm everything down. Inhale, take those hands high. Exhale, bring them down your chest as you bend your knees, fold forward, let that head hang down. Inhale, hands to shins, gaze forward, shoulders back. Exhale, hands down, step that right foot back, followed by the left. Knees, chest, chin come down. Inhale into your cobra. Exhale, tuck those toes into your downward dog. Looking up at your hands, bend those knees, step, jump or hop halfway onto your mat, bringing your bottom down. Bringing your feet in front of you, hip distance apart, bring your hands back behind you. Widen your feet so they are as wide as your mat and let your legs fall over to the left. Let your knees come over to your left. Your shoulders will want to follow, but bring that right shoulder back. Feeling the stretch all the way down that right side. Inhale, knees to center. Exhale, over to the right. Bring that left shoulder back. Lovely. Inhale, knees to center. This time coming over to left. Either stay there with that right shoulder drawn back, or you can bring that left ankle onto your right knee to just deepen that stretch a little bit more. And release, knees up, knees over to the right, left shoulder back, right ankle can come onto that left knee. And release. Lovely. Slide your legs forwards. Lower yourself down onto your mat, your arms forward, don't fall down. Make sure it's controlled descent as you lay down onto your mat. And then hug those knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins, gently rock side to side. Hold on to your knees. Make big circles with your knees, just massaging that lower back. Going one way and the other way. Lovely. Then let's raise our legs up to the ceiling. Don't worry if you've bent your knee. Cross one leg over the other as if you're folding your legs in a chair. Bend at the knee. Head and chest comes up to get those shins and draw those shins out to the side as you recline your head backwards to feel that deep stretch on one side. Planting that lower back into the floor, it will want to lift up, but draw it down. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Release, bring those feet back up to the ceiling, unravel and cross the opposite way. Bend at the knees, take your head and chest up to take those shins out to the side as you bring your head backwards, shoulders down, lower back down. Breathe. This is a really similar stretch to pigeon for me, but I tend to feel like it gets a little bit deeper, a little bit more into the grit. So it's a really lovely one to do. It's kind of like cow face as you're sitting, but a reclined version. And release, last stretch. Bring your feet up to the ceiling, flex those toes as if your feet are on the ceiling. Draw your knees in towards your armpits, taking your hands to the outsides of your shins for happy baby pose. So you can either rock side to side, or I like to just track my feet up and down the ceiling as if I'm on ice skates. Breathing there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And then let's bring those feet down to the floor. Bring your soles of your feet together or send your legs all the way down. If your soles of feet together and your knees are out to the side, it's an added extra stretch for your relaxation. If not, bring those legs all the way down, but let the feet fall out to the sides. Either way, turn the palms up to the ceiling, close your eyes. Turn your head side to side. Feel the weight of your body heavy on your mat. Let go of the breath. And although the session is ending, I challenge you to stay there for 10 full breaths. 10 full breaths where you're thinking about nothing else. And when you count the breaths, it helps keep your focus. So I often do this to make sure I fully get my relaxation. So as you breathe in, it's 1. And as you breathe out, it's 2. Breathing in for 3. Breathing out for 4. If you start thinking about something else and you don't get to 10, start back at 0. It's only 10 breaths. Train yourself to concentrate on nothing else but your breath. Thank you very much for practicing with me today. Hope you have happier hips and enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.